Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us here on the African Reform Movement channel, where we discuss everything African reform with an emphasis on Ghana. As always, I'm your host, Uchenoka. Good morning to you, and we have Dr. Nii and Mudaka with us. If you're joining us for the very first time, thank you for joining us. Just want to let you know that you can contact Dr. Nii on his social media platforms here. All of this information can be found within the description box. So if you don't get it now, no problem. That's some information there for you. He's also written a number of books, which he's mentioned before. The Fifth Republic is one of the ones that he's spoken about most recently. These can all be purchased at his Book Nook store. Dr. Nii also has a website where he produced a number of articles. You can have a read of those there and speak to him on his social media platforms if you so desire. Also, we ask, we plead, we beg, if you are watching this channel, watching it live, please send in all of your questions regarding Dr. Nii's topic. Please don't feel your questions are foolish. We want everybody to get involved in the conversation. And it's best that you send in your question, Dr. Nii can answer you, okay? Please don't feel shy. I want everybody to participate and go in the chat and get the conversation going, okay? So today's topic is, only the best is good for Ghana. What a load of 72 billion can do in 13 years. So Dr. Nii's going to take us through that. Over to you, Dr. Nii. Good morning.
Good morning, Uche, and thank you very much for your usual nice introduction. And I welcome everybody to the Solution Center. This is the Solution Center, the home of the truth. And like we said before, this year is going to be the year of the truth. So get your loins and tighten your seatbelt, because today you're going to hear some stuff that would actually clear the path for most of what you say this year. This is a Solution Center, and we are starting with only the best is good for Ghana. Actually, this is an adaptation from what Dr. Agri said. Only the best is good for Africa. I've changed slightly to only the best is good for Ghana. What it means is that when you're talking about Ghana, you don't compare people with the worst scenario, the worst experience, the worst achievement. You compare things in Ghana with the very best in the world. You don't say John Mama is good because Akufo-Addo is worse. No, we don't want that. We want to compare John Mama to John Howard in Australia, to Scott Morrison in Australia, to whoever somewhere else, where we have the best results. Because only the best is good for Ghana. Mm-hmm. Okay, that medical mindset must leave the minds of Ghanaians. Yeah. We are not going to build a new state on wrong foundation. Now, when I talk about a one-party state, when I talk about one ethnicity state, it's not because I have anything against those guys who led those states, but we have to uproot the wrong foundations in order to build the fair state. We cannot build a good house on the wrong foundation. That's it. Personally, there are only two formalists of Ghana that I like. Okay, Kutu Acheampong and Hila Liman. The rest I couldn't be bothered. I don't have anything against them as persons, but as a citizen, I have the right to judge them as stewards of the people. And when it comes to that, no holy cow. When it comes to that, no holy cow. If one person built a wrong foundation, I will uproot it, because my determination is to build a fair state. Nothing more, nothing less. All right, first slide. Only the best is good for Ghana. What a loan of 72 billion can do in 13 years. Now, the 13 years in reference here is from 2009 up to the end of January 2009 to December 2021. The rule of Atamils Mama Akufo-Addo Bawumia, okay? In this period, they've accumulated 360 billion cedis. Now, 360 billion cedis, over this period, the cedi to the dollar is about 5 cedis to the dollar. So when you divide 360 billion cedis by 5, you get $72 billion. Okay? Over this period, they've accumulated $72 billion in loan. And now I'm going to tell you what they've done with that, and I'm going to tell you what I'll do with 72 billion, and then we take it from there. Next slide. Next slide, please. Let me tell you what the best or gold standard is for Ghana. Okay. Here in Australia, in 2003, we built 1,420 kilometers of railway from Alice Springs in the center to Darwin as a continuation of the railway from Adelaide to Alice Springs, then from Alice Springs to Darwin, total of about 3,000 kilometers of railway. Okay. The cost in 2003 for 1,420 kilometers is the equivalent of 840 million US dollars, less than 1 billion US dollars. Okay. It was able to construct 1,420 kilometers of railway with less than 1 billion. In today's currency, it comes to about 1,276. It comes to about 1.276 billion. So we built 1,420 kilometers of railways. If you are building today, it should cost 1.276 billion dollars to build. Now, for those who are there, from Elubo, our border of Ivory Coast, to Aflao, our border of Togo, the distance is 542 kilometers. From Accra to Paga, the border of Burkina Faso, the distance is 788 kilometers. When you put the two together, it's 1,330 kilometers, which is less than the distance from Alice Springs to Darwin. Okay, so what I'm saying is that if we are to build the same distance today in Ghana, mind you, the cost of labor in Australia is about 10 times the cost of labor in Ghana. But let's even assume the same. Let's assume we pay everybody the same as in Australia in Ghana. It should cost us 1.276. It should cost actually 1.2, because this is less than 1,420. 1,330 kilometers from Elubu to Aflao, from Accra to Paga. We would have crisscrossed Ghana with less than $1.2 billion. That's the gold standard. If we are going to build railways, so now, those of you who do not understand me when I hit at people, this is where I'm coming from. I don't compare Ghana to Burundi or Burkina Faso or whatever. I compare Ghana to the best in the world, because only the best is good for Africa. I'll come to this again. Why is very important? The gold standard. The gold standard. The next one, this one is in Indonesia. 1,000 megawatt of coal power in Indonesia is 1.389 billion. So let's say today is 1.5 billion. Okay, so for every 1,000 megawatts, you build it with $1.5 billion. Now that cost of model is just 1,000 megawatts installed. Okay, 1,000 megawatts. So 1,000 megawatts, which is one coal station in Indonesia, is equal to the big Akosombo you see there. Akosombo is big for nothing. Okay, the installed power there is nothing. 1.5. And you understand why I picked those two things. So here, every 1,000 megawatts equals 1.5 billion. In the railways, when you calculate, realize that every kilometer is $900,000, less than a million. Less than a million. Every kilometer is $900,000. So if I'm going to build 1,000 kilometers of railway in Ghana, it should cost me 900 million. It should cost me less than $1 billion. Okay? All right. Next slide. We'll come back to this point again. So what is the lead? Or, sumui in my language, lead. Lead is called sumui. in Ghana language. I don't know how it's called in Tree, but it's called sumui. What is the lead or sumui standard? In the First Republic, when Nkrumah left power, it's accumulated a debt of $1 billion US. And what did we see? We saw 20-kilometer motorway, and people make noise about it. I don't have anything against the guy, but 1 billion in 1966 in today's currency is 1 billion in today's currency. Inflation taken care of is 9 billion. It's 9 billion US dollars. So with 9 billion US dollars, we can decide to have a railway around Ghana in circles. Because 900 million, less than a billion alone, will give us 1,000 kilometers of railway. But we got 20 kilometers of motorway, and hey, that's the messiah because of our mediocre mindset. For me, only the best is good for Ghana. I don't take those things in, those things are just mediocre mindset, a mediocre performance. All right. Then the other one, John Mahama. He between 2009 and 2009 January and 2017 January, he accumulated $22 billion. And what did he show for? What did he have to show for it? Circle interchange. The circle interchange for 22 billion. You can imagine the number of railways and underground railways we can make out of 22 billion. If we can use 1.2 billion to crisscross from Elubu to Aflao and from Accra to Paga on the border of Guinea Faso, then you can 1.2. Then you can imagine what $22 billion can do. Meanwhile, the railway that they constructed in Australia took 26 months. It was started in July 2001 and it was finished in September 2003. In Ghana, building a secondary school can take 5 years, can take 10 years. It took 26 months to build 1,420 kilometers of railway. Since the Akufo-Addo came to power more than 5 years now, I don't know whether he's even built 10 kilometers of railway, but he has a minister for railways. This is how disastrous we are. And then Nana Akufo-Addo, from 2007 January to 2017 January, 2022 January, 5 years, he's accumulated $50 billion. $50 billion. What does he have to for it? Pokwa say interchange. This is the lead. This is the lead standard, sumui standard. And it's got nothing to do with a person. It's got nothing to do with policy and delivery. And I'm saying that $72 billion that we have accumulated could have changed everything in Ghana. Could have moved Ghana from the third world to the first world. Next slide. What can $72 billion do? That is, if I have that money over a 13-year period. First of all, if 1,000 megawatts of power will cost 1.5 billion, then linearly, 30,000 megawatts of power will cost $45 billion. Okay, that's what I would do. Now, why am I focusing on power and transport? Because the two fundamental principles that make a country a developed country is energy. Energy controls industry and everything. That's why American foreign policy is energy driven. That's why America is so much involved in the Middle East. Security of energy means security of production. Security of energy means security of industry. You lock down energy, you lock down industry. And there's no country in this world that can develop without adequate energy. As we speak today, China is producing or using 3 times more energy than America. No wonder it said that by 2030, China will become the largest economy, because now economists believe that the amount of energy a country consumes is more appropriate and more relevant to its economic growth than GDP. So now energy consumption is becoming a better indicator for economic growth rather than GDP. As we speak today, China is consuming at least 3 times more energy than America. There is no reason why China will not be able to overtake America as the largest economy by 2030. First, they said it was 2045. It came to 2040. Now they revised everything. They say it's going to be by 2030. China will be the light, because China is burning energy. And energy is industry. And that's why this small Singapore, with 5.5 million people, like the population of Greater Accra, is burning 21,000 megawatts of installed power. 21,000 megawatts of installed power. In Ghana, 31 million plus, or whatever the population is, we only have 4,100. Less than a fifth of that, about a fifth of that of Singapore, whilst we have 6 times Singapore population, obviously, and this 4,000 even, it's only 60% which is operational. Only 2,600 or so is operational. So we are just joking. Of all the energy burnt in Africa, half comes from South Africa. South Africa has 51.6 or 51,600 megawatts of installed power. Ghana has 4,100. And 84% of South Africa's installed power is from coal. Okay? So Ghana is going to go coal. We need the power. No country can develop without cheap coal power. None. It's never happened before. And Israel guy is using 43,000 megawatts of power from coal out of the 51.6. Then Ghana has done nothing wrong if we go 30,000 megawatts of power from coal. India is burning coal 4 times more than the whole of Africa put together. Yes, I know what they're saying. In fact, they said they are not even thinking of any climate nonsense to 50 years' time when they've matched up the development of UK and Europe. Once they are able to put their people at the same level as UK and Europe, then they can start thinking about what to do next. But now they want to catch up. They want to eradicate poverty, and they're going to use coal. We are going to use coal to get 30,000 megawatts of power. And when we get that, and this is the point, when we get that, it's going to cost us 45 billion max. When we get that, we'll supply energy to Burkina Faso, supply energy to Ivory Coast, we'll supply energy to Togo and to Benin. And that's where we get our money to pay back that 72 billion. Because you know what? When you are taking money from somebody, you don't take the money to share and loot, to share, loot or whatever they do in Ghana. You have to have a mechanism of paying back. We are going to produce energy like South Africa does. South Africa produces energy and gives it to Namibia, Swaziland, Lesotho, Botswana, and I think Southern Zimbabwe. So they get money back. They sell the energy. So if they collected a loan to build those plants, they have the capacity to pay back because they sell the energy. We are not going to collect money from anybody and chop the money like we witnessed in the last 13 years. All they can show us is circle interchange and Pokwase interchange. Nothing. $72 billion. Apart from that, I'm going to make a 2,000-kilometer rail. Now, 2,000-kilometer rail network should cost us 1.8 billion. Let's even say 2 billion. Add them on to the 45 billion. Then we are just sitting at what? 47 billion. We have been come close to 50 billion. And this railway will include underground train in Accra and Kumasi. Yes. And when we have underground train in Accra and Kumasi, we're going to create a secondary industry, which is bent bricks. The soil that will be dug out will form a secondary industry, which, because now we have a lot of power. 30,000 kilowatts, 30,000 megawatts. We have enough energy to use bent bricks because it's cheap. And we're going to make housing affordable, easy to build, because we're going to create a secondary industry from digging underground to create underground train network. Because Accra is choked. Accra is out of control. I'm sure Kumasi is similar. Okay. Then we're going to have 275 continuous secondary schools. When I say continuous, I don't mean the joke we have now, okay? Continuous means that if you go to GSS 1, from 1, you stay in the same compound till you finish SHS, 6 years straight. We abolish BEC, okay? We abolish BEC. You finish primary school, you go to secondary school, 6 years, you finish. You're going to build this one. We're going to build 275. And we're going to refurbish all that there is already to a standard. The standard that I have seen with my 2 eyes in Australia. And that alone shouldn't even cost us 10 billion. We are still around 57 billion. And then we are going to build 275 polyclinics. Now, this 275 is because of the divisions and the economic federalism, okay? In the economic federalism, we're going to have 11 states. 11 states are going to have 5 districts. Each district is going to have 5 constituencies. So when you multiply everything, it becomes 275 constituencies. And each constituency, we are going to have one new continuous secondary school, and the ones already there will be refurbished. And then each is going to have 275 polyclinics, because most of our problems are daycare problems. Okay, 55% of all outpatient attendances are due to malaria. Malaria should be treated in polyclinic. It's a daycare case. And the next one is upper respiratory tract infections and diarrhea diseases. These are all daycare cases. All right. So we're going to build more polyclinics and less hospitals, because the focus of our health plan is going to be primary health care. And key to having a successful primary health care is malaria eradication. So we use another 10 billion to build polyclinics all over the place. And that takes us to how much? 67 billion. So we still have 5 billion. And we're going to devote 5 billion for malaria eradication. Case closed. Now, next slide. Where would the next 72 billion come from? That's the question. Now, these jokers have accumulated 72 billion for us already. We are saddled with this enormous debt. Where would the next one come from? Well, I'm not going to say it here because of the plagiarists around, but read the coming bestseller. Ghana must be born again, from underdeveloped to a developed nation. Manifesto of Nyamudako, Cha Omanyaba. So, question and answers. Brian says, bring it on. Ask all the questions you want to ask. I've decided that I'll make things very brisk and not too much. Just focus on one thing. What I would have done if this 72 billion had been given to me, you see clearly there. Everything costed. And in my book, I'll give you the detailed costing of how much it costs to build this, how much it costs to build that. If Ghanaian builders cannot do it properly, I'll bring people from South Africa or so they come and build for us, because we are thieves. People will collect money and build road, and within 3 weeks, there are potholes on the roads. People collect money to build this, and before they even start painting, there are cracks in the walls. So we got to do things correctly. Otherwise, we'll bring people to come and build it for us, and they'll manage for us for 7 years as part of their warranty. Unless we open our eyes and we become civilized, they will do it for us And then once we know what to do and how to do things properly, we'll take over. But this is what I'm going to do with 72 billion, not a second interchange or Pocas interchange or 20-kilometer railway or motorway or whatever. Only the best is good for Ghana. We want the best practice in this country.
Okay, so everybody, you've heard. Please start bringing your questions in now. We haven't got any questions so far, Dr. Nii. Just good morning, greetings and such. But whilst they're getting their questions ready, just want to ask you, roughly how many jobs do you think, for example, building a railway will generate?
Say it again.
How many jobs roughly do you think building a railway will generate?
Oh, we're talking of thousands because the construction is going to be about 1,300 kilometers. Now, I can say that, thousands. Only last week, Lagos State in Nigeria, they say they are building 37-kilometer intra-Lagos railway system. Okay, and they purchased one of the fastest trains. What do you call them? Fast high-speed trains, which goes at 330 kilometers per hour. Okay, so for instance, if you have that train in Ghana, you can move from our border from Ivory Coast to our border with Togo across 542 kilometer distance in less than 2 hours.
Oh wow!
Yeah, if you are going to drive today, it's going to take you probably 10 hours.
Oh dear.
Okay.
So big difference.
And they are saying that they are going to create 700 temporary jobs and I think 800 or so permanent jobs. So that's just for 37 kilometers. So you can imagine 1,300 kilometers. It's going to run in thousands of jobs, temporary. And then after everything has been constructed and finished, you can also see more permanent jobs in terms of train drivers and their inspectors, and people will be selling cafeteria on the train and all those things. All those things become thousands of jobs. That's what money does. It's not about Niamudan, it's not about Uche Inoka, it's not about ABC. It's about what money can do, what $72 billion can do in the right hands.
Excellent. Okay, we've got a question here from Kenneth. He says, we have a severely disjointed system. How much budget will you invest in civic education for the population to ensure this fantastic project takes off?
Thank you very much, Abe. Civic education is very important, and it's going to take many fronts. The idea of where I will spend the 72 billion is mainly to be able to generate more money. You see, now we are borrowing without knowing how we're going to pay for it. But here, if we borrow, we are not going to borrow. The way to fund this is going to be through borrowing. But if we were to borrow, I want a mechanism where we're able to pay the borrowing back by selling energy to neighboring countries, by having train systems that people will pay for. Now, what it means is that from these sales and from these things, we can get money to invest in things like civic education. But education as a policy, in your recent budget, only 4% of GDP was devoted to education as a whole. So to answer your question directly, for me, education is going to be between 10 to 12% of GDP. And from that, we'll have enough for civic education. So from 4% to 10 to 12, because that's what Castro did, and within a generation, he was able to produce excess supply of teachers, doctors, nurses, and it's now exporting them. If you do the same thing, if the cost is the same, the effect will be the same. If you put in the same as Castro did, you're going to get the same as Castro got. So I'm going to put in 10 to 12% of GDP into education. At this moment, it's 4%. Only Kutu Acheampong ever crossed the 6% benchmark from UNESCO. In 1976, he put in 6.4%. Nobody else has done that from independence. Nobody. I'm going to go beyond that to 10 to 12%. So we have enough money for civic education.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this question's in two parts. I'm going to give the first part first of all. A gentleman called Christopher Said, where will the billions of dollars to finance these projects come from, please? More borrowing or reverse colonialism when our economy isn't so creditworthy any longer? And then he
Oh,
says,
Christopher,
I'm asked, he said, I'm
go
asking
ahead.
this because I understand nobody wants to lend the money to Ghana because we're at the stage where we borrow more money to service interest accruing on outstanding loans.
Christopher, you're a smart guy. Obviously, you read a lot of the things I've written. Okay. One of the, you see, like I said, where will this money come from? I can tell you there are going to be four major areas. You've mentioned one, reverse colonialism. It's a whole thing I've written some time ago. It's a big document. That is one. Okay. Reverse colonialism. There are other three mechanisms that I'm not going to say here, but we are not going to borrow money. We are not going to borrow money. There are three other mechanisms that I'm not saying here. You've mentioned one, reverse colonialism, where we are going to mobilize Ghanaians outside as the external arm of our local economy. That's what the colonialists did. When they came here, they made their colonies the external arm of their local economy. So, for instance, Ghana, India, Nigeria, whatever, they became the external arm of the British economy. And then we became the supplier of raw materials for their industries. Okay, now we are going to mobilize Ghanaians outside as the external, and they are going to bring us their money into our economy, like we gave the raw materials to the colonial masters. Okay, so that's what they call reverse colonialism. Very good, Christopher. Very good. That's you have not forgotten. Reverse colonialism. So we're going to have diaspora investment bank. It's a whole mechanism, a big mechanism. All right. I'm not going to go into that. Thank you very much. It means you are reading. Good. Now, what's the next one? The next question.
From Victoria. She said, Ghanaian mindsets require a lot of education to be changed. How are you preparing for this task?
Yeah, the mindset has to be changed. But whatever, you see, let's get the point this way. Whatever is destroyed by man, it will take man to reconstruct it. And everything starts from leadership. You see, the Ghanaian is the most unique African, in spite of all our problems. Once the Ghanaian gets the correct lead, because the Ghanaian lies good life. Once you get the correct lead, that look, if I struggle a little bit and I sacrifice a little bit with this direction, I can get this far. The average Ghanaian will follow. The mindset which has been poisoned has been done so by NDC and MPP. They are the problem. They are the problem. And when nobody sees light at the end of the tunnel, everybody begins to look after himself, each one for himself, God for us. So nobody thinks about the collective because everybody, look, this way they can't do anything for me. So let me grab what I can grab. But when they believe that this direction, this pathway will lead to somewhere else, they are more likely to comply and be part of the game. They are more likely. So the mindset will change. I'm also a Ghanaian. My mindset has changed. So other mindsets can also change.
Thank you very much for that. This is a new one, 10 Talents Royal Media. A new person here. How do you propose to tackle the chronic lack of accountability and change the entrenched mindset that accompanies poor performance in the country?
First of all, we have to set the gold standards. And the gold standard, like they say, judging begins from the house of God. Judging will have to begin from the house of power. We are going to have a different executive system, a different parliament, a different judiciary, and they are going to be independent and they will hold each other accountable. Mr. Ken, what I've said before in earlier YouTube program is that in the new parliament, on the new government, the whole cabinet of 25 members and the prime minister will go to parliament every Friday. We call it the question time. And they will put on the spot by parliamentarians and we ask questions and grant, believe you me, a permanent and a continuous misperformance by any minister, he gets the boots. Sacking people will be part of governance. Sacking non-performance will be part of governance. Accountability is key for performance. Where there's no accountability, people do what they like, but it's not going to be like that. And it will be there clearly in the Fifth Republican Constitution. Clearly, accountability and code of ethics for ministers and parliamentarians. Clearly, a whole chapter, code of ethics. So that will come. And that's why we need to get rid of this constitution, because it doesn't have that platform.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Rosalind Byrne. Previous governments have had to work within the constraints put on them by, for example, the World Bank. What will you do about looking for funding?
Yes, the World Bank and IMF put constraints on them because whatever money they collect, they don't pay back. They don't have the mechanism. They collect money without saying how they're going to pay back. And they didn't put anything there that will make repayment easier. They only repay by taxing people more. What we are going to do, funding, one of which is reverse colonialism. You have to make sure that what the colonial masters use the colonies for, we're also going to use the first world economy for. That's why in the West, migration is always an election issue. Because they know that the more migrants come to your country, the more money they take away. They know it. We don't know it. Because we haven't organized ourselves. They know that when migrants come to your country, in 2012 or whenever I wrote the article first, the annual remittances from Ghanaians overseas to Ghana was $2 billion, more than the money IMF and World Bank gave us. But it's not organized. The money comes as consumption capital. It comes to mama, dada, auntie, grandma, and they chop it. Now we're going to create a new mechanism where the money will become investment capital. And then the dividend will go to the mama and the dada and the sister and the uncle for them to use. So we detour. The money will come in, but the money is going to go straight for consumption. The money will go into the Diaspora Investment Bank. It will be used to do all some of these things. I mean, we can, when we have that scenario, we can effectively get maybe 10 billion a year. Because you know what? When I put my money in the Australian account, the interest in Australia is 0.1%, not even 1%. 0.1%. You don't get anything on the money you keep in the Australian bank. So if you're going to go through this way and you're going to have dividends, that you then give the dividends to your family members to chop, rather than sending cash money, rather than sending capital money, consumption money to them directly, is another way of refinancing our system. That's one way. There are three more other ways that I'm not discussing here. But funding will be plenty. Yeah, trust me. Those who have read Youth Africa, you see two there, and there's like a third one that I'm going to put in Ghana Must Be Born Again book, which is not in the first book.
Next question here from Eric Engman, another new person. What percentage of health issues are daycare issues? You mentioned malaria constitutes 55%. Plus the others, what percentage will that be?
Diarrhea diseases and upper respiratory tract infection, I think they are 25%. So we're talking of these three alone occupying 80%. Yeah. I don't know exactly how much of 25 is diarrhea or upper respiratory tract infections, but the two of them 25. So we put the 25 plus 55, we're looking at 80% of our healthcare, primary healthcare issues being these three diseases.
Right, they came from 10 Talents Royal Media. How do you plan to financially encourage businesses designed to offer direct societal benefits? For example, a business designed to tackle malaria while achieving desired profit.
Okay. So, thank you very much. What's the name? 10 Talents.
10 Talents Royal Media.
Okay, all right. 10 Talents. Titi, what I'm going to do is that, well, every business will have to present his business plan. You see, critical. Then we're going to have a malaria eradication bureau. Malaria eradication bureau. I've written about this previously, so I'm just taking it back from memory. We're going to have malaria eradication bureau because you know that little island, Cuba. Castro eradicated malaria in 2 years. All right. So now they come with their business plan. We look at the feasibility business plan and we say, we're going to finance this business plan. You see, malaria is very easy to deal with because the flight range of the mosquito is only 100 meters. It's only 300 feet. I was discussing this yesterday with Eric Engman. They said, oh, it looks like we have to do that for the local because what if you kill the malaria in Ghana and it flies from Togo? I told them it was 300 meters. It's actually 300 feet, 100 meters. So we can actually clear Ghana without needing to clear Togo. But that's the failing of ECOWAS and that's the failing of AU. 94% of all malaria deaths in the world come from Africa. But the AU has never found it necessary to look at malaria eradication in Africa. They are jumping around with COVID. I don't know what that COVID is about. They are jumping around, running around like headless chicken. But 94%, 93% of all malaria morbidity, sickness is in Africa. 94% of all deaths is in Africa. Yet it's not a problem for us. But that's what's killing. In Ghana, 32 children, based on 2018 figures, 32 children die every day from malaria. 32 children. We don't care. Because it's normal. So, yes, double T. What I'm saying is every business is based on business plan. All right. So you bring the business plan to the Malaria Eradication Bureau, it's examined and to be funded accordingly. For me, I believe in business. All right. I'm a free marketeer. So once we look at it properly and it's feasible and it's doable, we fund it because we have to get rid of malaria. It will free so much of our resources.
Well, those are all of the questions, Dr. Nii. Those are good questions as well.
Yeah.
That's all the questions for today. Thank you, everybody who contributed to the question. If you have any last questions, please get them in the next minute or so, and Dr. Nii can answer. If not, then we'll think about wrapping it up here.
And they should all be looking out for Ghana must be born again. Ghana must be born again from underdeveloped nation to a developed nation. Now, Lee Kuan Yew wrote his book after 35 years in power, from 1965 to 2000. He wrote his book after he's been in power. I'm writing before. And I'm going to say, Lee Kuan Yew said what he did, and he was able to write because, well, he had a fact because he has done it. But I'm going to write what I will do, and you people will judge me about what I say I will do. So it's a challenge that has never been faced by anybody before in this world. Look what you did very well. You did it after 35 years, but we will do it in half the time. But this is Ghana. What we have, we don't have.
When should people start to look for this book?
My plan is to come back in April around Easter to launch it.
Okay.
But it depends, it depends on what the psychotics do with COVID.
Okay. I've got one final question here from Victoria. Our mental health care system in Ghana is completely dead. How can you revive these since we're all prone to fall mentally ill anytime? Okay,
Manvik, again, this useless budget devoted 2.5% of GDP to health. All right, 2.5% of GDP to health. I live in Australia. Health is 9.5 to 10% of GDP. That's what I'll do. I'm going to put 9.5 to 10% of GDP into health, and we'll take care of mental health care. When you give 2.5 to health, it means you are sick in your head. Okay? You are sick in your head. To devote 2.5, UK has about 10-11%. US has about 18%. The most inefficient health system in the developed world. US. About 80% of their GDP is to health, but they get results not even comparable to UK or to Australia. So it's very inefficient. I'm looking at 10%. So we'll take care of your mental health, okay? Trust me. Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for your questions. It's really helped today. It's wonderful. As always, we'll be with you next Saturday at 11 a.m. Please let your family and friends know about this channel, about our broadcast going live every Saturday so they can join us as well. Once again, thank you, Dr. Nii, for your wisdom.
Yeah, and I'll come back to you probably tomorrow next. What I'll discuss next Saturday. Probably I'm going to compare the education policy of Nkrumah, Kutu Acheampong, and Obafemi Awolowo. I'll probably do that. We got to lay the foundation for the best education system that Africa is going to have in the next few years to come. All right, we'll start from there tomorrow, next week. We'll start
Okay.
from there next week. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll start from there next. All right, thank you very much, guys, and
Thank
welcome
you.
again. Yeah, thanks for coming to a solution center. There's no other place like this place. Saturday morning. Ciao, Omanyaba.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.